What's up guys, Lou Too Fresh here, coming at you today with a video. I decided to do a owner's review slash kind of a pros and cons on the RAM TRX. I've had this for almost a year, just under. I think I got it in January 23 and right now it's just after Thanksgiving. But I've put about 8,000 miles on it, and I have some insight as to what it's like to live with, as it's my daily driver. I got a little notepad here I put together. So let's start with the things I like about it. The powertrain, if you guys couldn't guess, I had to start with the obvious. Most of you know it's a Hellcat 702 horsepower motor, creates like 600 something pounds of torque. Badass. I love the supercharger whine. It sounds really good, like the exhaust. The transmission is really smooth too, actually. You just leave it in like automatic, and the gear shifts are really smooth, you hardly feel them. Or you could throw it in sport and it'll like drop down a gear and be a little bit more torquey. Moving on, the tech. So this thing is loaded up with tech. I mean, it really took me by surprise when I first bought it, because I didn't even test drive this thing. I just thought it was a badass truck and I bought it because I'm a G. But as soon as I started driving it, I was like, wow, there's a lot of tech in here. So to name some of the tech off, there's a really nice heads-up display I'm looking at right now. It shows like your miles per hour, the speed limit, and the road you're driving on. The Harman Kardon sound system, I cannot say enough good things about this sound system. It doesn't lose clarity when you crank up the volume. It doesn't get distorted at all. The separation of the sounds is phenomenal. Also the cameras. So this thing is a really big vehicle, as most of you know, and sometimes it's helpful to have a camera to kind of see how you're lined up in a parking spot, or rear view, front view camera. It's got all of them. I think it might even have a 360 as well. So the cameras are cool. Wireless charger, that's pretty easy. Like I said, you don't gotta plug your phone in, it's wireless. You just throw your phone right there on the pad and it'll just charge it for you. 12-inch screen is really nice. Wireless Apple CarPlay, that's just really smooth. You don't have to plug your phone in or click any buttons. As soon as you hop in the truck, your CarPlay's on. I don't know about Android Auto, I'm an iPhone user, so sorry. Power folding mirrors, those are nice. I take this into the touchless car wash a lot, and it's nice to just be able to click one button and your mirrors fold up. Although I don't know, maybe you guys let me know in the comments, I don't know if there's a way to make them power fold when you turn the truck off. You know how sometimes with like some German cars or whatnot you see parked, they turn off the ignition and the mirrors will automatically fold. I don't know if this truck does that or not. I haven't been able to figure that out. So I'm gonna go with no. If you guys know anything different in the comments, let me know. So that's it with the tech, at least that's all I want to mention. Oh, you know what? No, the rear view mirror is pretty neat too. So I got it in just the mirror mode, but you can flip it up and it'll turn into like a camera. So it'll just use the footage from the camera. It's on the back of the truck to display that image on your mirror, which is pretty neat. In terms of the looks, it's another thing I like. I love the wheels. I got the bead lock, as you guys can see from my previous videos, and maybe I'll show some footage right now. I got the bead lock rims. They look really good. I'm usually not a fan of silver rims, but I like the wheel pattern a lot versus the stock rim. Suspension, the Bilstein shocks are just badass looking. I think it kind of goes nicely with the silver rims, because the Bilstein suspension components are also silver, and I can tell you that they work very well. This thing rides wonderfully, at least on the road. I've done a very minor off-roading, if you want to call it that, and it's a dream, honestly. I couldn't really complain. The hood scoop. The hood scoop is very cool looking. It looks pretty menacing from the front, actually, I can't lie. That's one of the things I really like about this truck. It's also well proportioned. If you kind of look at it from the side, you could tell that, the tires are big, but they actually fit a truck of this size. And the bed is, I wouldn't say it looks too small, it's not too large. Same goes for the front of the truck. I just think it's a well proportioned vehicle, and everything kind of looks like it belongs on this truck. The decals, yes, the decals are pretty cool. I don't think they're overdone whatsoever. I have the little TRX in matte on the hood, which is kind of cool. You can actually see it when you're driving. And then the TRX on the sides of the truck, on black, you can't really see it all the time, but you do notice it from certain angles, and it kind of just gives it a little bit of flair. The next thing I like is on the front of the truck, it's got real air ducts. So with the wide body, They, obviously bumped out the sides, and they actually put some air ducts in there that you can see light through, which tells me that they're real. Going down on my list, the wide body, I just mentioned it, but the wide body is bad ass. This thing looks so fat parked in your driveway or parked wherever. It really gives this truck a lot of flair. Interior colors, yeah, so I got the I think it's called the level 2 pack with this truck. It's got the leather seats, and usually it comes with gray contrast stitching. I also opted for the red stitching pack, or red, I think it's called red interior accent pack. So that made all of the gray stitching red. And I really think they did a good job with not overdoing the contrast color in this interior. Sometimes, some manufacturers, I think, go a little So I think some manufacturers kind of go a little crazy with the colors sometimes. It's just not my style. I like a little touch of accent colors, but mostly black. That's exactly what this cabin is. I mean, I got some red contrast stitching going around here on my steering wheel and the dashboard or whatnot. You got the red TRX on the seats and some red bits, but it's not overdone. I think it's a really well put together interior. And I should say aesthetically it looks balanced. Moving on from the looks, I have capabilities. So yeah, it just really brings me a lot of satisfaction knowing what this truck is capable of. Not to say that I'm going to use it for bajaing and jumping, sand dunes and shit like that, but just knowing that it is capable of that is kind of cool. And this thing is sweet. In the winter, I feel like I could take it out through any sort of wind, rainstorm. I mean, even the wind. This is kind of like a weird one that a lot of people don't think about, but I'll be driving on the highway on like a windy day, and cars around me are just getting blown left and right, and this thing is hardly budging. I mean, it's such a heavy, solid, wide vehicle that it is hard to push this thing around, even in the worst weather conditions that most people will drive through. So definitely a good aspect of driving this thing. It feels very safe, and like I said, capable. You could drive over shit. It's sweet. Luxury. So this is another reason that I bought the truck. It's got great interior materials. I mean, even if you just look at the door, I think the door is a good testament to what they put into this truck. You got leather, red stitching, carbon fiber, suede. Those are all premium materials. I mean, and you'll find that throughout this entire truck. Everything is either leather, carbon fiber, or suede. Auto start, yeah, so this thing comes with automatic start, stock, which is super nice on like a cold day, or if it's like winter time and you just want to get this thing warmed up, you just click the key a couple times and boop, the truck started, and hopefully it's all melted and warmed up by the time you get in there. I think there is a 10-minute timer on the auto start, which can be problematic on a super cold day or a really shitty day in the winter time, because sometimes 10 minutes isn't actually enough to get this thing heated up or melted. So you might have to auto start it a couple times. Heated and cooled rear and front seats. You cannot find many vehicles that have heated and cooled rear seats as well as the front. It's pretty rare, actually. Rear reclining seats, so that's kind of cool for your passengers in the back or whatnot. It can actually kick the seat back a little bit and it gets a little bit more comfortable. Power sunroof. You guys can probably catch a glimpse of it on my video here. It is a big panoramic roof, and there's actually a shade that will come all the way forward. It rolls up in the back, and it's all power. I got buttons just right there, so definitely nice to have that. And the rear sliding window, yes, this is part of the truck that I love maybe the most. This little feature, rear sliding window, makes a huge difference when it comes to the ventilation in here. A lot of times, even on a cold day, I will crack the sunroof and I'll just open up that rear window, and it actually helps pull the heat or whatever is coming through the vents. It'll just pull it through naturally, even if you don't really have the vents on. And it's pretty nice to have that kind of airflow. So to continue with talking about the luxury of this truck, you have a lot of storage spaces. So you got like a glove box, you got an area above the glove box, you got huge door pockets, so you got spaces underneath the rear floor mats, underneath the rear seats, including a truck bed. So plenty of areas to store whatever you want to store that you're traveling with. Last luxury feature I want to talk about is the easy entry and easy exit. So when you get out of this truck and turn off the ignition, it'll actually pull the seat back to kind of give you some more space to climb out of, as well as when you get in the truck, the seat will be back, and then you start it and it'll scooch the seat forward and bring you closer to the steering wheel. So that's a really nice feature. I actually was really bummed out when I got into a car and had to drive it that didn't have that. You kind of don't realize how nice some of these features are until you have to go without them for a little while. So moving down the list, made in USA. I like that about this truck. I mean, call me a patriot, but it's nice to support an American business. That brings me a sense of gratification that, you know, buying a German car or some other foreign car wouldn't bring me. It also helps in the maintenance side of things because it's easier to service these vehicles because parts usually would be more readily available in my experience, as well as the maintenance costs are going to be less because you're not paying for, you know, fixing crazy German engineering. Usually you're going to find that the maintenance cost on American vehicles is lesser than that of foreign vehicles. Some other odds and ends, I didn't really know how to characterize these ones. 33-gallon fuel tank. It is nice to have that kind of fuel capacity because this vehicle is a gas hog, so it helps to have a little bit extra fuel on board. I can get it almost like 450 miles to a tank. So going down the list, yeah, the 33-gallon fuel tank is nice. Rear windows go all the way down. I find that is kind of rare on some cars. I mean, a lot of them have like the child-proof windows so that the kids can't climb out or whatever the logic is, but I like that these rear windows go all the way down. It's nice in the summertime. Another thing I like is that this vehicle comes with a matching spare wheel. It is found underneath the bed of the truck, and it actually corresponds with the wheel that you got optioned on your truck. So if you got the stock wheel, then you'll get the stock wheel for your spare. But I selected, for example, the beadlock rims, and I noticed when I looked underneath the truck, they put a beadlock rim underneath the bed. So I'll never be riding around on a spare that doesn't match the other rims, which is cool. And I believe that goes for, there's an option where you can have a tire mounted in the bed of the truck as well, which would bring your total set of wheels to 6 on the truck, which is kind of crazy. But I think that would also match. So moving on to the flip side of this paper, we're going to talk about the things I dislike about this truck. I'll start with the obvious, miles per gallon. As I look at my fuel economy, after I just went through a gallon right there, I'm looking at 12.4 miles to the gallon on 93 octane fuel. So this thing by no means is an economy vehicle. It may be actually one of the worst gas hogs I could think of, especially in this segment. I mean, you have the Cadillac Escalade V, which I know is horrible on gas. But other than that, I mean, can you think of a vehicle that gets worse gas mileage than this? If so, drop it in the comments. I'd be curious to know, especially on premium fuel. Number 2, laggy infotainment. So I was just telling you guys earlier about how nice this 12-inch infotainment screen is. And yes, it is very nice, but it is laggy. I think it is built with Android software, and I've noticed that it is laggy at times. You go to like change your mode, and you click let's say if I were to go from custom to sport, and it'll take a full second or two in order to switch over your mode, which is kind of annoying. Obviously, I mean, it's not a deal breaker, but hopefully that improves maybe with some software updates or whatnot. This truck does have over-the-air updates, so I think that may be able to be fixed in the future. Moving down the list, I got laggy paddle shifters. So yeah, these paddle shifters are cool. A lot of people complain about them because they're scalloped out in the back. That actually has not been a problem for me at all. I have no gripes about the shape of the paddles. The problem with the paddle shifters for me is that I find them to be kind of laggy. You go to change a gear, and like the same thing with what I said with the infotainment, you got to wait like a second or two before it actually will change the gear, especially if you're trying to bang through the gears. I mean, this is just not it. So I find myself rarely really using them, and I think this transmission is best suited just to be left in the automatic mode. moving down, this truck is hard to detail. So I used to be a detailer. I know a little bit about detailing vehicles, and this truck is a behemoth. It's so big that I really feel like it's a two-person job to get this done in a timely manner, especially if it's like not the best conditions to wash and wax a vehicle. Like, you don't want this thing to get spots and whatnot. But I feel like if you were just to solo detail this truck outside, it would be so hard to prevent water spots unless you had some sort of water treatment system that, you know, you were using filtered water or whatnot to wash it. But yeah, it's hard to detail, especially the interior. I mean, the interior is like a miniature living room in here, so it's a lot. But detail it, get it detailed, you know, hire a professional. Tanu cover. So I got the Mopar Tanu cover. It came on the truck, it was an option, and it works really well. My only complaint about it is that it flaps a little bit. I think it's like the Tanu cover flapping gets on top of the bed. Not a huge issue, especially because I'm usually playing music and I actually can't hear it when I'm playing music because it kind of drowns out that flapping. But it is something that I've noticed, and you know, it can get a little bit annoying at times when you just hear the tick 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 of the Tanu cover. Again, I'm nitpicking, but something to consider. There's also no suede headliner in this truck. So I came out of a Jeep Grand Cherokee SRT. You guys may have seen the video on that, and that had a suede headliner. I know the Dodge Durango Hellcat has a suede headliner. I'm not quite sure why they didn't put a suede headliner in this truck. I think for the price point and all the other materials they used in here, they could have afforded to put a suede headliner, especially considering, you know, you're really only putting suede on a little bit of the roof. I mean, you have this huge panoramic sunroof that takes up the majority of the area at the top of the vehicle. So I think they could have put a suede headliner in. I think they could have cheaped out there. I also don't really like the fake vents on the front of the truck. They look cool, but when I realized they were fake, I was like, I don't know if it's for me. I'm kind of a hater on fake things on vehicles. I don't really want fake piped in noise. I don't want fake vents. I don't want anything fake on my vehicles. So when I realized these were fake vents, I was a little bit bummed out, but they do look cool. I'll give them that. They do look cool. The last point I have is parking garages. So I didn't consider this when I bought the truck, and I found it to be problematic when I go places like downtown. But this vehicle requires at least 7 feet of clearance, and a lot of parking garages around here are 7 feet. When I looked into it, they don't actually account for any of the exit signs or bars that may hang down in parking garages. So you actually need more like, I don't know, 7.5, 8 feet, I think, to get this thing into a parking garage safely. I've never done it. I have found a few garages that are above that, and I would try it. But just be cognizant that, you know, if you work downtown and you're gonna drive a TRX, or you work somewhere where there's a lot of tight parking spaces or low roofs, this vehicle will give you some trouble when it comes to parking. Other than that, though, I mean, that's the last point I have to make. I really like this truck. Would I buy it again? 100%. So I think that about wraps up the video. I appreciate you guys watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get it to 1,000. I think at the time of making this video, I'm at 400 subscribers. So let's get it to 1,000, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.